Hello, everybody. So I'm doing things a little bit differently now. Instead of live recordings before the playback, I'm pre-recording everything and just doing a premiere. I'm hoping I will still be live in the chat to talk to you guys about what's going on, but yeah, without any further ado, here is the recorded video of the session. Started the recording, and yeah. If Jackie shows up, then she can hop in. Currently, her character is up on the scaffolding sketching your epic battle. Speaking of which, who would like to do the retelling? I know the last session was a long one, so there might be a lot to retell.
So primarily, we started off with in the town. We're kind of heading north to the next province over. We have our traveling papers and stuff in hand. And we spent a lot of time poking about the town, grabbing as much information as we could, and generally making a nuisance of ourselves. We spent a significant amount of that time actually in the super secret storeroom that no one knows about, having a grand old conversation about stuff in the secret storeroom. I'm sure the bartender was very happy that we were leaving. At that point, we left the town, had a couple of just random encounters with just some random farmers. We screwed up somebody's farm, made them very upset about how their farm was too profitable and not working as intended, and then their crops would be there too early. And in a society where food preservation is not something that's like an advanced technology, that kind of makes sense in some ways. And then on the way north, we encountered a bunch of dudes on tigers who didn't like us. We had tea with them. And then we shot one of them. And we're currently in the middle of the situation in which we're dealing with the fallout of either having tea with them and or shooting at them. And we'll see which one is the worst thing as we continue.
Indeed. Well told. For that is precisely how it happened. Minor details that were missed were the experimentation with the spear and the crafting of Troy's new tattoo. Troy's character Draven now has a tattoo that he can activate to root himself to physical objects or people. But yes, the situation as it currently stands is that there is a great artificial reservoir. Its walls made of stone, at least on the side that you're on. A stone staircase leads up the wall to it, and on the other side is water. Quite a lot of water. Significant water in every direction, except, of course, south, where you came from. And on this water are floating little rafts that, up until recently, were chained together. The stones on the side of the reservoir were knocked off by a trap that was sprung, and so the chains there are no longer tethered, and there is water pouring over that edge. The flow of that water is going to slowly start pulling the raft off the chain. It doesn't really have anywhere to go. It's not going to fit over the side. It's a very big raft, and that's kind of a small hole by comparison. Galista is standing over the holes, her legs split wide to prevent herself from slipping on the stream, the wet water below, and she has her bow drawn, ready to unleash fire. Meanwhile, on the raft bridge of chained-together rafts, there is a man who has been rooted to the raft by magical arrows. There is one of the bards is a couple rafts south of that, trying to keep his distance. Your tea maker is on the raft with the guy and has just tamed his mount, making that useless, and the guy being effectively pinned and without his mount is effectively out of the fight, except for the commands he can issue by talking. Let's see, what else? Oh yes, 4 cats are in the process of leaping over him onto the forward-facing rafts, while way in the north, your scholarly character, played by Ed, has been shaking the chains, making it look like he's just fumbling about, but has been shaking the chains to rock the rafts and loosen the chains from their mooring, causing the rafts nearest to the southern wall to begin to drift away from their connections to each other, creating some separation in space. It seems like the cats will probably be able to jump that space okay, but they are cats and they do not like water. Speaking of cats that don't like water, Troy is off to the side in what can be very well described as a chimney of rafts that leads down into the water in a dry space that has been created and pumped out. And down there, he has encountered 12 of these cat riders mounted on their panther-like, tiger-like, something in between their mounts. All of them have weapons that are really good in open environments, but not super good in close quarters. And so they are having some difficulty. And Troy, I believe you're going to have the first real chance at action here, is because the actions that everyone else has set up have provided you with a unique opportunity and a unique challenge. That challenge is that their general has just shouted an order, and something has happened below you that has the cats spooked. It looks like they're going to try charging up through you. You can, of course, get out of the way relatively easily. You're just at the top. But you have many other options as well. And it's up to you to decide what you would like to do.
Sweet. When I looked at these rafts like shoved together, right? We've talked about them a few times and how they're like kind of made to shove together to make like a ceiling thing.
Yes, they have pitch on the sides, black like tar surfaces that when pulled together form a mostly watertight seal. It's close enough. Little like droplets of water trickle through, but it's not enough to really worry you. Now, disrupting it could make something worth worrying, if you could find a way to do that. They are currently held fast by chains.
And are the chain connections near where I am? Like, because like I can't see the exposed chains because they're probably on the other side on the water, considering the ceiling point is on this side.
You cannot see if there are chains on the other side, but you do see that there are some chains on this side.
And they're like that heavy, like not buoyant, but like that thick iron.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't just like destroy it.
I mean, you guys have supernatural abilities, but
your Faythen'oc, what can and can't be done is pretty flexible.
Yeah, I mean, what I want to do is I want to blow the rest apart. That's what I've been wanting to do for days.
Well, pitch is extremely flammable, isn't it?
Yeah, I
the
mean,
rafts are made of wood and covered in a flammable substance to make them watertight. So he is absolutely correct about that. The cats below you are spooked by something further down the tunnel. So there's something under them that has them spooked, and looks like they're going to try and run through you to get away from it.
Yes, and I want to make that hard by preventing them from doing so.
We have seen you cast Fireball previously. We know you're capable.
Yeah, so that's what I want to do. There's a lot of panic, and I guarantee there's some anger going on from the captain at the moment. Considering he's pinned and mountless, and he's probably pissed. We went from examining the psychological state of these people patient and waiting to, I'm very sure, thriving with anger and such. So my current idea was I can't see. I'm assuming, like, am I right? I'm right, like in the hole, or is like, where's my current position?
Yeah, you had positioned yourself last session over the hole to block one of the cats from escaping, and you basically like threatened and kind of knocked it down. Its rider's weapon
Yeah.
was entirely ineffective against you in close quarters. It's basically like a scythe with a pointy bit at the end, so it has trouble fighting you. It's like a scythe with an inverted blade,
Okay.
or like a pickaxe where the outside of the axe is sharp like a knife. It's a weapon specifically designed for cat cavalry.
Perfect. Uh, basically, I have some sort of flames. I think I had flint and tinder at some point. I don't even think I need that. No, it's psychic. This shit's psychic. So yeah, what I want to do is I want to focus on the anger and actually I'm just going to focus on the panic that is everybody trying to get out of this hole, and the rushing and that like fear, and I'm going to use that to be like this constant feeling I want to like expand and like blow away, like get away, and I want to focus that on the wood, and I just want to shatter the wood and make it explode.
All right.
And we can tinge some rage in there for the fire to push it toward a fireball. So with all that focus and everything, I would roll potential, right?
Yes.
Oh. All right, we're done.
You reach for their fear and panic and find that while it is the panic of cats, mad and wild, it makes it difficult to grasp. It scratches at your mind. Let's see, you were trying to cast basically a third circle spell?
I think so.
Improvisationally?
Basically, yeah. I don't have it saved, so.
Their fear and panic runs wild through your mind, inspiring fear and panic in you. You have a 3 dice condition coming at you for it's basically targeting your psyche, so this would be composure damage, unless you want to mitigate it through some of your various means.
I'm fairly certain I'm taking composure damage. Like that's just happening. That was awful. But I'm still in the way. Which may not be a good thing.
You are still in the way, which is in and of itself a reason to panic as well.
It's a bunch of scared cats like gonna claw toward me. Yeah, it's not exciting.
Yeah, the riders do seem to be losing control of them, and the cats just want to be up and out and away from whatever bad thing it is that's behind them.
I'm gonna continue moving to the other side of this dam or whatever it is, the solid ground.
That may be incredibly wise.
Yeah, that's my action for the next foreseeable future.
Okay, Troy. The panicked cats have 5 dice of get the hell out of here coming at you. You can simply choose to stand aside if you wish, or you can continue to block the hole and take 5 physical damage from a cat clawing at you in desperation.
Is that a condition or the other thing? I forgot what the other one's called. Is it 5 to 1 thing, or is it 5 distributable?
This is 5 to 1 thing. But remember that, like, the special power of your resist, avoid, and notice is that they can reduce what that 5 is before it has to apply to the 1 thing.
Yeah, the only we don't rest enough. The only thing I have right now is notice, and I'm going to argue against myself for using notice because I'm psychologically terrified.
Fair enough. Remember, you
So
don't
I
have to
can-
take anything if you simply step out of the way.
Yeah, so I cannot without getting knocked out of the fight. So if I stand in the way, I'm out of the fight. So I will get out of the way.
Okay. The cats come pouring out of the hole, jumping in truly random directions. It is a 50-50 chance if they jump into the water or if they jump safely over the side onto dry scaffold. Seven of them go to dry scaffold, and the remaining 5 leap into the reservoir and immediately begin having cat panic attacks. Their riders are thrown, and they are not really involved in this fight any further. I need to make a note that we're down to 7 cats in that group. Tiger Squad 7. Someday an epic movie will be made about those 7. All right. Meanwhile, let's see. Ed, actually, let's get back to you. You're in the most relaxed situation right now, as there's nothing imminently threatening you. So
Correct.
I'll let you make a decision after you see what everybody else is dealing with.
Okay.
Which moves us to Miles. And actually, this kind of affects you as well, Tice, but you're kind of further away from it. Miles, you had moved a couple rafts south, and you now see the water around you dip. Your raft slides cleanly off the chain, and the water around you seems to be beginning to spiral down towards some opening at the bottom.
Is it spiraling down the general vicinity of where the kind of makeshift tunnel was?
It looks like the makeshift tunnel extends horizontally across the bottom to underneath where you are, and he had set up a trap there to drain the water into that tunnel so as to create a miniature whirlpool temporarily. It cannot be infinite. There's a limited amount of air that it can push out, and it looks like the place where the cats were hiding was the outflow pipe so that there wouldn't be bubbles of water coming up, and instead the water would just simply go down. This means that this is not going to last forever. But currently, the weird and interesting result is that it means you're no longer blocking Callista's shots. The other result here is that there is a cat landing on the platform with you, but he is unstable and unable to act as he is dealing with the same bizarre situation you're dealing with. So you get first go at this guy.
All right, so this platform is unstable. You said it slid off its chain, so is it basically just like flowing down the river now?
It's flowing down the sort of slight incline of what's spiraling towards that drain. Again, the spiral's not going to last forever. It's eventually going to fill up and the water will level off again. But for the moment, you're being sort of pulled away from the combat and are in a private duel with this guy and his slightly unstable cat. He's one of only 4 that were in that area. They were standing behind the guy and jumped forward as he was being entangled. There are 3 others somewhere up there. You imagine they're probably going for Callista.
So yeah, as this cat lands, I assume the rider's on the cat?
The rider is, yes.
I would like to just kind of basically just ram into the cat, sword first. Just try to get the cat right in the throat and kill it on the spot, or push it off the raft, whichever happens most readily.
That's a Faythen'oc answer right there. Go for it.
And as I do that, I'll yell to Callista to kill the commander if she can, since he's pinned down and defenseless. Let's see. This is my first combat roll, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm rolling. Let's see, 3. That's respectable. Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
As I recall from your character sheet, you're actually a competent melee person.
Yep. Yes, I am. 5 successes.
Oh, beautiful. Every die you roll is a success there. Okay. While you did not slay it, you did deal significant damage to it. It doesn't dare put that into any of its combat abilities, so it's all going into its health. Does your sword have any contact properties like poison or anything?
I don't believe so. No, it's just a pretty standard issue Faythen'oc sword, short sword.
All right, go ahead and narrate your attack.
Yeah. So as the cat lands, well before it can get its balance, because I know I know in a straight up fight I'm in rough shape, so I just try to take the initiative while I can, and I just kind of ram into it sword first. Not a lot of artfulness to it. And I'm going right for its neck. I get the blade in the neck. There's I feel the cutting. There's a lot of blood, so I know I hit my mark, but the cat is still alive, which is a little disheartening. But I withdraw my sword and prepare to get wrecked.
It is a beast trained for war, after all. Not necessarily for naval combat, though. Which is what you guys have gotten it into.
Yeah, I'm hoping in like ramming like that, I got it further off balance, and hopefully it's kind of panicking. But we'll see.
Tice, as the roots grow out of the raft and encapsulate the man in front of you, you have his cat purring and eating out of your hand. What would you like to do?
I'll look up to the captain. We do not need to continue this fight. If you just withdraw your men, and I can ask my friends to withdraw each other. You're not the villain here. It's your lord that's the villain. If you want to, we can take this to the emperor, or someone can take the evidence to the emperor, and maybe you can replace the lord instead. For it seems like you're a just man. You're just following someone that is corrupted.
An excellent argument. I will award you 4 pips for that argument. Make a persuasion roll. Definitely plus empathy. So you appealed to his own sense of honor.
Damn.
Sheepers.
Didn't even need those pips.
He has already taken an action this turn, so he cannot make a counter argument. His action was to shout a command to his troops earlier, and so that is going directly to his composure. All right. And Ed, you see all of this happening before you. You are in a position where you really could just walk away. You're on the northern side of all of this. The rafts around you are still linked together and doing just fine. There's a slight current heading south, but that will soon abate, you're sure.
I mean, no one looks like they're in dire, grave danger that I care about.
Except for Troy and Miles.
Yeah, they take care of themselves. Are they at risk of drowning and or falling over the side and or being sucked into a vortex at this point?
Only Miles.
Only Miles.
Yeah, the Heldren Black Hand is the only one currently in a situation that you would say is at risk of getting sucked into a vortex.
Gotcha. Doesn't look like a friendly vortex, right? It's like a...
It definitely looks like a trap that this guy laid when he was preparing the grounds. The reason he brought the engineering team, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. Are there any combatants on near me, like on my side, staying back, the engineers, or are they all kind of running into the fray at this point?
You have not spotted the engineers. To the north of you, there are more areas that look like they're blocked off for repairs, but they're very far north. They're basically at the other end of the reservoir.
Mm-hmm.
They're not in the immediate surrounding. There are enemy combatants that have not engaged yet. There are 2 cats leaping at Gallista, and one that looks like it's going to try and assist his lord.
But I'm past all those guys, right? I just kind of like
Yeah,
past
you walked past them, and from their perspective, you were on their team. You're a member of the Emperor's Court that was trying to help resolve the situation. It's the barbarians that are at fault here, so they're ignoring them.
Fair. I'm glad I was convincing. Okay, well, I'm gonna
Oh, you roll well.
I'm gonna see if I can delink one of these rafts and send it to assist in the trap situation. If that's reasonable.
Okay, so what you have is you have a long chain that's linking a lot of rafts. The chains are periodically linked together by little locks. So it looks like they weren't originally one giant chain, but they're chains that have been made to link together by sticking padlocks between them. These are not fancy padlocks. These are, medieval kind of contraptions. Engineering work, to be sure, but you imagine they're probably not difficult to pick if needed.
Okay, I'll try and pick a lock. The goal here is really to send the raft, to get the raft to either jam up plug up the trap before. For all I know, there's spinning blades in there, and it's just going to chew them apart. So to either plug up the trap so that it's no longer in play, or to give him something to hold on to so he can kind of regain his footing. I'm assuming he's too far away for me to somehow throw him a chain, right?
Right, and also he's on the other side of all of the cats and stuff. Now, all those cats are sitting on a raft that is itself, the chains on it have come loose. So a good push could send those rafts off the chain and into the trap as well.
Oh, that's a great idea. I'll do that. If they're close enough to me.
Yeah, I mean, all these rafts are linked together, so pushing one pushes the next one in a domino-like
Oh,
fashion.
I see. So it's like a little bridgey raft. Yeah, okay. That's where we're going to go with this.
All right. I'm feeling...
If need be, I'm confident I can get away.
I'm feeling either athletics or labor could either apply in this situation.
Okay, labor is good. I'm going to use feint to avoid them knowing that I'm doing it.
Which reminds me, I need to bring up the fluid rules so I can look these things up when they happen.
Feint's just a guaranteed sneak attack, even in combat. I can either use feint or misdirection, whichever one you think is more appropriate, but they both span from the same pool. So. Actually, I'm going to use misdirection because it requires narration. I like it.
Oh, okay. So feint is a modification to misdirection.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Feint basically converts misdirection into an attack.
It allows me to use misdirection in a violent manner.
Yeah.
So this is either misdirection or feint. Doesn't really matter. Okay, yeah. So I turn around and start waving my arms and shouting. and I say, Commander, look out, look out. And then I fall over and I start shaking the chain. I clumsily fall over and manipulate the chain in such a way that I just fall and break through the lock, and direct the raft with cats to either capsize and or move towards the trap.
Okay. You wanted
Now
to break
make a
the
roll.
lock then instead of just push the raft?
I can just push the raft if that's reasonable. I assume that if I break the chains, then both sides of this raft bridge are going to become unstable.
So imagine you've got, a bridge is basically just made out of rafts, and the thing that's keeping the rafts together is the chain. The chain has come untethered from one side, and so the rafts on that side are starting to slide off into the whirlpool. Giving a push will make them slide off faster.
Oh, I see. So we're already unstable.
Yes.
I just happen to be on the
You took
more
care of that last session.
Yeah, I just happen to be on the more stable side, but my side will eventually also become unstable.
Eventually.
Got it.
If
Okay,
the
yeah.
whirlpool lasts long enough.
So I say, watch out, and then I stumble and I fall on my face, and in falling to catch myself, I push the raft with the cats on it as hard as I can.
All right. Let's see those dice.
Labor and agility, cunning, agility, perception, vigor. Vigor would be a bad one.
I mean,
but
vigor would make the most sense for just raw oomph, but it does sound like you're trying to do something kind of agile-ish.
I'm trying to get the cats off guard. I mean, even perception might actually be useful in that regard. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, agility is the best stat that I have, but I can totally go with vigor if we're gonna do that. That's fine.
I'd say with agility, you put yourself in the best situation to not actually hurt yourself in this attempt.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead with agility then, because I'm all about not hurting myself.
It goes up against a harder difficulty number, but it means that you're not really in the line of fire for anything.
Yeah. Let's go with vigor, actually. As long as I don't get hurt. An injury can be a useful tool if it happens. So.
Two successes. All right, so you give it a push, and let's see. This is affecting more than one person here. Okay. The only real downside to this is that one of the rafts that you're pushing has Tice on it, but he's not in a particularly dangerous situation right now. He actually has one of their cats, like, eating out of the palm of his hand.
Yeah, I figure he's okay. I'm more worried about the guy that's being sucked down into a vortex of pain. And I'm also concerned about the two dudes sitting on cats on a floating raft in the middle of a, like, flooding reservoir.
Yeah, and due to the fact that their cats don't like water, they're taking double damage to their composure from that attack. Okay, and that concludes the first round. Back to Troy. So, of the 7 cats that did manage to get off the right side, they are now climbing down the wall and scaffolding. And it looks like they are going down to the ground where some of your party members are. Down below, you see Sinlan and Radiko are gathering themselves up at the base of the steps where the water had washed them down to. They look a little beat up, and the squad of cats is heading towards them. You've kept the spear concealed up till now, right?
Nope.
Yeah, so they didn't see it. It's wrapped up in, I think you had swapped them for stone coverings instead of the bone ones along the way.
I believe so, yeah.
Because you didn't want your sheath growing flesh.
Yeah.
No, I didn't like that part. No, yeah, it has like light stone covering.
At worst, the stone gets a little bit mossy from time to time.
It's just fantastic.
So, slight lichen growth on it.
And that affirms that I should have done something else earlier, but too late. Is it reasonable to say, are any of the, so there's 7 jumped out. You said how many are going? 4?
Yeah.
4 are headed down?
4 are headed down, and then 3 of them are trying to regroup on the rim. Their cats are a little disorganized, so they're making rolls to try and get their cats under control and regroup up on the rim of the reservoir.
Okay, so it's reasonable to say that their focus is currently on their cats?
That is reasonable to say, yes.
Okay, combat stealth.
Ooh, you have that.
So I burn 1 stealth and I'm gone.
True. You're gone.
Okay.
Where do you want to go?
So back to where I am, where like I'm just outside the hole now because I got out of the way.
Yep.
That puts me on the side of the reservoir. But immediately close to me, there is like one of the bridges, right?
So there are 2 bridges. There's the one that's broken, which is, so if you're facing the reservoir, that's to your left. To your right, the same distance as that one, there is a completely intact bridge that has not been impacted. The bridges do not appear to connect to each other anywhere. They just go across the reservoir.
They just go like all the way to the end.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not super worried about the compatriots. So how far away is the, like, I'm in the center of 2 bridges, which I mapped this wrong in my head. How far away is like each one? And they look like they go super far down, but just like how far away is the like nearest one?
Like maybe 100 feet.
Okay, so it's not
awful.
It's not awful, but
now the distance
they
down
actually
the bridge
cross
is
the
significant.
reservoir is
Yeah, the distance across to the other side of the reservoir is significant.
okay, and I can see.
You know what? Go ahead and make a perception roll here. Do a perception plus notice.
One.
Okay. The bridge to your right, the intact bridge, it doesn't seem to be going straight. It seems to be bending to the left slightly.
Like, so when I'm looking down the reservoir, it's to my right. It looks like it's kind of going
Bending left, like it might be like leaning towards touching the other bridge at some distance. Eventually, it does seem to be in motion. Like it's not that it's curved; it's that it is bending. Like it's in progress.
It's bowing.
Yes, it's gaining bend as you watch.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm assuming with all the shit that's happening, just meta-wise, it's being sucked in that direction. But okay, there are cats. I don't necessarily care about the people down. Heading in the direction of people will give away my whole stealth tactic. So I think my best bet is heading toward that other bridge and just starting to run down it.
Okay. And so off you go.
and I burn myself.
And Draven is on his own. That's your talent, right? It's your trait?
That is my talent, yeah.
Seems to be the safest place for you. So.
Yeah. Also, as soon as they see I have what I have, everyone is after me.
All right, Miles. This time he's finally in control and is going to engage against you. So I'm just going to give his roll. You can decide if you want to oppose it or if you want to let it happen and do your own thing. He is slashing at you with his weapon. His cat refuses to let its claws loose from the boards that it's gripped, and so he's trying to stab down at you. Much like a pickaxe, this weapon is designed to arc and then penetrate without actually hitting the cat. So the reason it's shaped like a scythe is so that the blade part can stick out and be away from the cat and come down without hurting his mount, which, as an unpredictable mount, it makes sense to try and design weapons that won't accidentally get in the way of its claws.
All right.
You have ample opportunity to try and do something to counter this, or you can take the damage and strike.
I'm gonna take the damage and get the hell out of there.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll take 2 to my resist, and I'll take the last one to the health.
Okay. Are you going to be activating your tattoo to escape?
Yes, I will. And I'm just gonna kind of shout. I assume that the only Faythen'oc that are paying any kind of attention to be, or where is Jackie? You said Jackie is observing, right?
Jackie's observing, and Gallista can also see you.
Okay, so I'll just kind of hold my arm up in Vena's direction, and I'll say, Venatori, I'm putting your tattoo to good use. And then, activate, and it'll go into motion, and the flames will kind of ignite a little bit. And then I intend to get the hell off this raft, and specifically, so if I understand this right, the side that I'm closest to is the side that's completely detached, right?
Yeah, your raft is at this point basically floating in a whirlpool on the side of it, spiraling around. It hasn't gone down to the middle yet.
Okay, so the quickest path to safety is probably to run back towards where the commander and Masashi are, if I'm envisioning this right. Okay, so yeah, I would like to use the speed that my tattoo grants me to attempt that. And if it applies, I'd like to use my quick trait that I picked up with our last renown.
Yes, that applies.
Okay, and what exactly does that do?
The trait, it gives you threshold bonus.
Oh, okay, cool. So it's threshold 5. All right. Unfortunately, my agility sucks, but we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, but fortunately, you're getting +6 dice from your tattoo. You discover in short order that this tattoo enables you to move at such speed that you can just walk on water. So go ahead and narrate how you get out of there and where you want to go.
Yeah, I would like to. Do I have? Is it enough for me to get all the way to the opposite bank to safety, or is it enough for me to get to where Gallista is?
Yes. At this point, you can pretty much choose your position on the battlefield.
And is Gallista under threat right now?
Yes, there are 2 cats that are leaping at her, and they're going to meet her this round and probably disable her ability to fire. They won't necessarily kill her, but they'll be in melee, so she won't be able to keep bowing. She'll have to get out her spear and play catball.
Okay. Yeah, then I would like to get over to her so I can assist her.
All right. You arrive by her side in time to see the 2 great cats that were trying to leap their way from raft to raft finally make it. The water, the swirling maelstrom in the middle of that had disrupted them for a bit, but they finally made the jump. Ed's little push kind of rattled them. So they're not ready to attack just yet, but they land. Gallista puts away her bow, hefts out her sharpened her sharpened tree, and gets ready for some fighting. You will probably spend much of this combat ducking underneath the swings of her spear.
Yeah, I don't even intend to be directly in combat range. I figure I'm probably going to assist her in bardly fashion.
Fair enough. Tice, you stand here. Your raft has been pushed. It's starting to sink into the maelstrom. It's come loose from its moorings and is now basically its own raft without the connections to the bridge anymore. The commander is, he looks quite troubled. Your speech has definitely impacted him. And he is no longer paying attention to his soldiers and is looking at you directly. He says to you, "It is true I am an honorable man, and if you believe this, then please, give me the spear and let me bring about the honorable solution to this problem. I may serve Lord Hypo, but I know honor, and I know how to serve the Emperor."
Well, looks like you may need to repeat that.
Oh, did he just miss that?
Yeah, I had to step off for a second. Sorry.
Okay. No worries. So, the raft that you're on has been pushed and has now come loose from its moorings and is falling into the maelstrom. The swirling water is pulling it towards that dark center in the middle. The general is still bound, but he appears quite disturbed from the things that you had said to him and is now giving you his full attention, no longer commanding his men. He says to you, "It is true what you say, that I am an honorable man, and if you do believe this, then I beg you, please give me the spear so that I can bring about an honorable solution to the problem. I may serve Lord Hypo, but I know how to serve the Emperor."
And what would you be doing with the spear if we had it?
A series of events will inevitably occur if I bring the spear back. These events will lead to an honorable solution. Of this I can promise you. I cannot speak openly against Lord Hypo. That is not my place, and it is my duty to support him. But supporting him in an action that is folly will bring about a good solution.
This will bring down, without you doing anything, this will possibly cause Lord Hypo to be dismounted of his spot for his actions that'll be brought to light.
You said yourself that he, or your companion, said that Lord Hypo is not able to lift the spear. The spear is a mark of the Emperor's favor in him. If he cannot lift the spear, then a lot of other problems are going to start to stack on top of him. As long as the spear is in the wild, he can claim ignorance of the events, and he is not going to suffer repercussions. If he cannot lift the spear, then there will be problems for him.
Well, we'll have to talk it with my allies.
Yeah.
Or I'm just a tea maker,
So
and I will like pull out like one of my cooking knives, and I'll start like just going at starting to chop off the roots.
Okay, cool. He was totally going to roll against you for that, but yeah, if you're just going to do it, that's awesome.
Well, I sort of sense that he's sort of being honorable guy, so like.
Cool. That's good. That's a good character. When Miles gets back, he's going to be slightly upset, but that's awesome. Which brings us to Ed. What would Nerugi like to do?
I didn't hear any of that exchange, right?
It depends on how close you got to the barge to push it. You might have. Do you want to have heard it?
I'll deal with that when it comes to it. I'm just gonna move myself to safety, dry off my robes, and take my hat off, fix my hair, try and get myself presentable. I can't be walking around like this. What if I suddenly have to have a courtly discussion with a noble traveler?
Very well. You begin grooming yourself. I'm sure you have all the accoutrements with you to bring yourself into full imperial courtly appearance. All right, Troy, you're running down the bridge. You can see the bridge is definitely being pulled along by the current of the trap that was sprung. And you can now see that the only reason that would occur is if the bridge's moorings on the opposite side had been cut.
The one I'm on?
Yes, the one you're on.
Okay. Can I see anything on the other side? Like, is it just still too far?
You can kind of make out. It looks like there's some figures over there. They don't look like soldiers. They're definitely not mounted, but they also look like they're scurrying to hide. Possibly the engineering team you guys have been looking for. It does mean that by next turn, you'll have gotten to a point in the bridge where it's bent so much that you can hop over to the next bridge.
It will mean, though, that no matter how long I run on this bridge, it will never reach the other side.
Correct.
Except that it'll reach the other bridge, which reaches the other side.
Which does reach the other side, yeah.
Okay.
At which point you'll join up with where Nerugi is. Or Nergui? How's that pronounced?
Yeah.
Nigiri.
Yeah, Nergui.
I'm still saying your sushi.
Okay, Nergui, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna. This is the best possible route because turning around would probably give myself away at this point, because I'm in an obvious, like, visible place now. So I will continue running, and however far it'll take me.
Cool, and so you do. Which brings us back to Miles. Heldrum, you've landed next to Glista. She has her weapons out. She's ready to fight some cats. You're far enough away that her weapons are not a threat to you, which also means you're far enough away that the cats are not a threat to you. The cat that you left on the platform is succumbing to its fate and getting pulled into the middle of the maelstrom. It's basically out of combat now. You also see that another raft has broken loose of the chain and is drifting into the maelstrom, and that is the raft that contains the tea maker, your hero, and also the general. And the tea maker seems to be frantically trying to cut the general loose from the roots that have bound him from Gallista's magic arrow.
Ah, damn it. So that's happening. Is Gurlista wounded?
Not even slightly. They tried to catch her with that trap, and she just outrolled it.
Yeah, and I'm guessing just by eyeballing her, I'm guessing she doesn't need my assistance against a couple of cats.
You're guessing not. You're guessing that these cats are probably going to go for an airborne ride into some scaffolding, assisted by a giant telephone pole that's been sharpened to a point.
All right, so I'm just gonna. Oh man! All right, so yeah, I'm just gonna look up at Venatori again, shout her again, be like, "Hey, Venatori, check this out again." And I'm gonna attempt to haul ass to where Masashi and the commander are to assist in cutting loose the commander.
All right, make your roll. You need 4 dice or better to run on water. Dash Incredible style.
Ah, not quite there. Do I realize as I'm attempting it that I'm not going to, that I don't have enough speed to run on water?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and say that you're. You get a little bit offshore and realize that you're not quite going to make it. You could stop on one of the rafts that's spinning around the whirlpool. It looks like the whirlpool is actually starting to fill up the reservoir, and so it looks like it's going to start like calming down in a moment. It was never going to last forever. It only had a limited amount of airspace underneath it to fill up.
All right. Yeah, I'd like to basically I want to go as not far as possible. So I want to stay as close to the bank as possible. Once I realize that I'm not going to make it to Talus, I'd like to kind of switch on the fly to safety mode and stop as soon as I can on what appears to be the raft that's the furthest from the center of the whirlpool.
Okay. So you're on a raft. You're within shouting distance. You can talk to him. You might even be able to pull off ranged attacks or magic.
I'd actually, I mean, he is a hero, right? So although I guess I already used. Did I already use my action, or can I?
You did, but you can still talk to him.
Okay.
Your action was very fast, after all.
Yeah. Can I basically give him somewhere between a pep talk and actually using my potential to assist him if it's possible? If it's not, I'll just give him like a pep talk and see if that actually helps.
You've already used your die roll for your action for this turn, so yeah. But you can try to convince him as a person. He is not doing this because he lost a die roll. He's doing this because he decided to. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll say, look, hey, if you've decided to save him, then you can do it because you're a Faythen'oc and you're a Faythen'oc hero. And, cutting through those roots is just another ingredient. It's just another ingredient to prepare. Who knows? It might even make good tea.
Oh, okay, cool. You're actually helping him to cut through the ropes there.
Hey, he's the hero. I'm the bard. If he's decided that's what he's gonna do, then I'm gonna help him do it.
Very bardly of you to do. All right, Tice, you're up. Your bard is giving you a pep talk. He hasn't been able to trigger any magic powers for you, but he's encouraging you to continue freeing the man.
Okay.
Do you wish to finish cutting through the rest of the roots that are binding him? You don't need to roll. It's a normal task.
Yes, I will.
All right, you complete that. You free him. He shouts for his men to stand down. One of his soldiers ends up airborne. It's just slightly too early to hear that command, and crashes into the scaffolding some distance off. But then Gallista sort of sheathes her weapon. They all sheathe their weapons, and they stand at attention, and he kneels in front of you. Says, "You have won the day."
Did the guys down that are going after the other bard and hero, did they hear?
You were not sure, but his voice did carry.
Okay.
Well, let's get somewhere on a better, stable situation than here. Kind of.
I'm on
agrees.
the far shore wringing out my clothes.
On the far shore, you find that there is a collection of engineers. They are kind of huddled behind a little barricade, looking terrified. Not of you. They're terrified of what's going on the other side.
I say, hello. Why are you here?
Say,
You are
thank goodness.
Royal Engineers, I say, wringing out my sleeves.
We were assigned to service the general. He had many tasks for us, and we've just completed the last of them by unmooring a bridge.
Oh, I see. That's haven't seen much combat then in the engineering group here.
No, and we would prefer not to. You can join us in our hiding space.
I wring out my sleeve and I say, yes. The job of a scholar is much more dangerous than that of an engineer, for sure, I say. I must be in the combat situations all the time with my nobles. There's duels, they stab each other sometimes, fights in court. Sometimes the claws come out. It's a pretty dangerous job. And I say, do you have anything to eat?
They do. They share some food with you.
I say, excellent. I will sit with you.
Troy, you find them as well, but you're stealth, so they have no idea you're there. All right, so working together with the cats, they managed to gather up the rafts and get them kind of roughly back in the order. Fortunately, the chains weren't broken. Their moorings on the edge there are disconnected. So they can get the rafts back in place, but they sort of drift back and forth. It's not a really good connection. Really, they need the engineers to come down here and fix it. They send a cat rider back to go get the engineers. And they begin helping everybody across to meet on the other side of the reservoir, where they find engineers sharing a sandwich with the Imperial courtsman that's been traveling with you. Miles, along the way, you see more of these segments that are cut out for maintenance, and sitting on the bank of one of them is an animated corpse. Upon seeing it, you feel a sort of pain in your chest where that handprint was placed when the corpse touched you at the hospital. This corpse has the javelins stuck through it, just like he did at the hospital. It appears to be the exact same one you saw. And he's just sitting on the edge of one of these repair areas where the water's been drained out.
Is there anybody, next to me?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of people.
Is one of my squad mates next to me?
Sure. Gallista's there.
All right, I'll just kind of whisper to Gallista. I'll say, do you see the corpse there?
So the server says no.
All right, well, that's kind of what I suspected. I'll walk over to it.
That would involve crossing some water.
Shit, never mind. Yeah, then no, I won't.
But it is something you could get to once you get to the other bank. You could go around the back. There's another bridge that would get you over there.
Yeah, sure.
It's something that you can do in the future shortly. Right now, everybody's sort of proceeding to this post-battle meeting in which the general is going to surrender to you. Well, specifically, he's going to surrender to Masashi.
Yeah, in the mean, I'll just kind of take out my book and I'll start drawing it, because I suspect he probably won't remain there. So.
Yeah, but by the time you look up from your book, he's gone. But you've marked the location. You know exactly where he was. And in your mind, you have a good memory of it. So your sketch is pretty good.
So this was a corpse with a javelin through it.
Multiple javelins through it.
Okay, and this is the same. This is actually the very same corpse that touched my chest.
The very same corpse that touched your chest in that vision you had.
Okay. All right. Good to know. At this point, I'm kind of wondering if it's following me now. Because
That's
I think
stable.
we're traveling the opposite of the path that it took to its death. So it's not like I'm seeing different echoes of the past here. I'm fairly sure it's following me. Because this is the bank that I was on previously, right? This is the South Bank.
No, this is the North Bank now.
Okay, so I see it on the North Bank.
See it on the North Bank, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Once everything is settled, eventually Sinlan and Radico show up. The four cavalry cats that went after them look quite beat up, but there does not appear to be any damage whatsoever on either Sinlan or Radica.
Huh, that's good. And by the way, I'd like to take Callista with me to where I saw the thing.
Okay. So the ceremony to surrender is fairly short. Tice, he kneels in front of you, offers you his weapon. I don't know how familiar you are with the customs up here, your character.
I would not know as much, but I know that I'm very orderly when it comes to like courtesy. So hit the order. The ones here might not be the same, but like I know, like
the weapon is, like I said, it's like a gigantic scythe, but the blade is sharp on the opposite end that's normally, and it has a point at the end of the lance as well. It's an odd looking weapon, and it's incredibly heavy, and definitely meant for cavalry use. But he is offering it to you as a sign of surrender, and he asks you, "Please allow me to follow an honorable path, and to begin to address the issues of my kingdom." His men are standing around him, so he's being incredibly careful what words he uses.
of course,
It's like I'm dying.
I'm not that much particular of a weapon to myself, so you can hold on to that. You can get up. I'd like to talk to you face to face.
All right, he stands up. He sheathes the weapon behind him, and is at attention. Ed, you would know that the formal thing to do here is to discuss terms of surrender. He has admitted defeat, so he's now honor-bound to accept reasonable terms for surrender.
Okay, I stand up and start putting my hat back on, and I say, I apologize for being a bit disheveled right now.
He's actually not paying attention to you, at least overtly. He's probably listening to you, but in accordance with the rules of this sort of situation, he needs to focus all of his attention, at least in appearance, on the person he's surrendering to, which in this case is Masashi.
Okay. So I say, Masashi, I guess this man is surrendering to you. We will need to discuss the terms. What are the terms of the surrender? And I kind of look around, look at the fact that there are still existing cats and people with weapons, and I say, also, it would be interesting to note for my scholarly duties why you are surrendering at all, sir.
After a short pause, he sort of tilts his head slightly towards you. He says, "It has become clear to me that I have been in a tactically disadvantageous situation, and that my defeat was inevitable. And so I am surrendering and admitting defeat."
I'm gonna press him on that like really hard. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and press him on that pretty hard.
Cool.
Yeah, basically, I'm just kind of like, I don't believe you. I'm just like, true, though you are a general, you put yourself in this tactical position. it would interest me to know, as a scholar of the many imperial works, many of them great works of tactics by people like yourself, how you got into a situation in which you are surrendering. I just had tea with you, and you had a very different tune that you were singing. What should
He rolled all 4 of his social dice, came up with 2, so you have 2 to beat. His only argument is I was bound, unable to move, in a raft sinking towards a maelstrom trap of my own creation. My men were all engaged, but not in the places where I had ordered them to, and not on the battlefield that I had chosen. That's his only argument. He's not great at social.
Sounds like he did a bang-up job.
God damn it, that was useless.
The dice are cruel, man.
They're very cruel.
It seems actually like kind of a reasonable argument. He is facing Faythen'oc. They are powerful warriors, and the Faythen'oc had just started to engage. You do notice that the Faythen'oc appear to be, with the exception of the bards, well, 2 of the bards, the Faythen'oc do appear to be largely uninjured. There's not a scratch on Gallista or Sinlan, and yet all of his cat people look pretty beaten up.
So this is less of a surrender and more of a favor for saving your life.
They sound the same. I think that's the same word, different words for the same idea.
I say no. Those are quite different, both morally and legally. I say, it seems like what you mean to say is you owe us a life debt.
He says, I do owe a debt, whether it is for life or injury, but also, in choosing to recall, I also reduced the debt and injury upon your own people. The man who freed me from my bonds was destined to the same fate in the maelstrom as I was, for he was on the same raft.
Agreed. I didn't say that you hadn't paid said debt.
Still, I am surrendering, and I will not engage in combat with you further.
Why should we trust you? You say you're an honorable man, but you took an oath to bring us back to your lord. You're abandoning that oath because you nearly died. You're a soldier. That's your duty.
Once I have agreed to a surrender, the Emperor's law prohibits me from reneging on it without dire penalty.
Agreed. But the Emperor is not here, I say, and I kind of gesture around at the open fields.
If we do not respect law, then what do we respect?
I say, I don't know. You threatened us.
For the spear.
Which legally we don't have. And if we did, legally it's ours.
And I'm willing to accept that as a term of surrender.
What you did was government-level extortion, which is definitely on the other side. Again, you're not to blame for any of this. You were following orders.
And as a general, one of my prerogatives is to choose to surrender.
What will become of you when you go back?
If I return without the spear, I will likely be punished, perhaps demoted, perhaps ousted entirely from my station, perhaps executed. If I return with the spear, then I will present the spear to Lord Hypo, and he will do with it what he can. You definitely get the sense from this guy that he is choosing words very carefully because he's aware his soldiers are listening, and he's not 100% certain where their loyalties lie.
Of course. Would you like to speak of these of the finer details of the surrender over in that bunker there while your men rest and repair after this fight?
That would be an acceptable term.
You can also come along. What is your name? I forget.
Nergui.
You can come along too. And if there's anyone else that I feel like there might be someone else that needs to come, but I cannot think of his name currently. And he's currently not present here.
Heldrin is walking up the bank towards something.
No, I was talking about. No, I was sort of like hinting at Kite's character because I can't see him.
Oh yeah, no, you can't see him. You have no idea.
Yeah, that's why
there's definitely a sandwich missing, but no one's sure who ate it.
Yeah, that's why I'm hinting at if I know there's someone else supposed to be here, but I don't see him. But if he was here, I would hope he'd join us. Yeah, and then we'll head back into the bunker while the engineers go out to fix the stuff, and the soldiers and stuff go off to the side to rest and repair and feed the kitties.
All right. So getting him in the bunker alone, his demeanor changes dramatically. He just looks exhausted at this point and just kind of sits down in a chair.
I'll pour him a cup of tea since there's still some left as I sit down.
I'll pour him a cup of sake that I took from the engineers.
He takes both with gratitude. Says I'm in no position to argue with you, really. You can choose to give me the spear or not. Maybe you really don't have it. I don't think that's true. I don't think Lord Hypo would have sent me out in such a panic if you didn't have it. But if what you say is true and he can't lift the spear, then bringing it back would help begin to topple his regime.
Indeed. You've made you made an oath to your lord, but you're not a puppet of the Empire. You're your own person. You will be more your own person now that you have been defeated and surrendered on an official order, one that apparently is of quite a high importance for this lord. Additionally, whether you know it or not, you should know that the lord is in significant, let's just say, breach of imperial mandate.
Oh, I know. I've sought a way to remedy this situation for a long time.
When the Death Speakers come in, it will not be, well, let's just say that you no longer being general and Lord Protector of this regime is probably for the best.
I suspect as much. Yeah.
Yes, but
Do you know why he hates them so? The Death Speakers. When Lord Hypo was but a child, a Death Speaker, in fact, the very Death Speaker who he allegedly, but he kind of shrugs and says, stabbed in the hospital, was they had a discussion that went very, very poorly. Lord Hypo was upset that she was awakening a hero who died a soldier's death, and he felt that it was disrespectful of her to awaken his spirit for any purpose, really. The result of this conversation was that she lashed out at him and gave him an injury that cannot be cured. He had the spear commissioned so that while holding it, the decay would be kept at bay. Since its release, he's been aging far more rapidly than he should, and while He uses whatever magics he can get a hold of to stave off the process. He is growing desperate. The recovery of the spear, he thinks, would alleviate that problem. But if
It may do.
if he finds he can't pick it up, then he's screwed completely. Not only will they come for him, but he will be without his weapon. It is a risk. That spear does have a great deal of capability in combating the spirit speakers.
People like your lord dislike the spirit speakers and the other envoys of the Empire because they raise skeletons, and they dislike skeletons coming back.
For him, it was more personal. He had a bit of hero worship for the person she was bringing back, and he thought it was disrespectful. She was wrong to lash out at him like that. He was speaking with words, and she spoke with an attack. But as an envoy of the Emperor, his actions for recourse were limited. He commissioned the spear from a faraway land, something I think is pronounced Salibra? Anyway, some wielders of life magic there built him a weapon which can combat the magics of death. In the right hands, that spear could do great good. I do not doubt that, and I do not doubt that your hands are just and honorable, although I somewhat question the lady who shot at me while we were having tea.
Her hands are just good at shooting bows. Mostly.
Very good. Anyway, I am your prisoner. I'm honor-bound to do as is required by the terms of surrender, as long as they be reasonable terms. If you have the spear and you would give it to me, I would take it to Lord Hypo and watch his failure cascade. If you do not have it, then I will return to Lord Hypo, and I will suffer his punishments until such time as the spirit speakers come to address the issue.
So I do not personally have the spear. I don't know where it would be. I wasn't really involved in this whole thing until we went to court. So I can't help you there, but you could speak with the teammaker or with his companions.
And the teammaker, I believe, is present.
Yes, I am. And I'm not 100% sure if he's able to pick up the spear or not. I would have to talk to my bards. They know more about this ancient than I do.
Says, I will happily adjourn and drink tea and sake while we wait for them to return. Miles. So you traverse a ways down the bank until you reach the spot where you had seen the zombie, or at least a vision of a zombie. And there you find a section that has been drained for repair to the wall on the other side. This side of the wall doesn't drop off. On this side of the reservoir, the banks actually rise up. So it looks like the reservoir was actually built on the side of a cliff. It's just hard to see because of how large it is. Here the cliff slopes down, and one of the main concerns here is runoff water coming from a nearby river that's a bit up a hill. So there's lots of things to prevent that runoff from containing too much silt. There are filters, a variety of things that need repair. There's currently no one down in this repair section, but it is dry all the way down, and there is a ladder in place.
Okay, and you said there's a filter. Just a quick glance at the filter. Is there anything like backed up in that?
Anything like that? What?
You said just a quick glance at the filter. Is there any like backup in the filter?
Yeah, well, it looks like they're in the process of replacing them, and so the sections that the filters are in have been blocked off by these sort of plugs. There is a little bit of water leaking out of the plugs, but not enough to worry you. It doesn't actually look like that even if they came unplugged, it would really be a threat of filling the hole.
Okay. And the hole basically it goes all the way down.
It goes all the way down. It's a stone on one side with the filters plugged in up, ready for replacement. And then the other 4 sides of it are those rafts set upright, chained together, and their pitch sides, keeping mostly water sealed. There's maybe like an inch of water at the bottom from the little droplets that sneak through the cracks.
Okay, so just if I just take a quick look at where I saw the zombie, do I kind of notice anything unusual there?
You saw him just sitting on top of the rafts at the top of this tunnel.
All right. Is Callista with me?
Yes, you had asked her to come, so she came.
Yeah, I would just like to mention. Yeah, if you can just hold up here for a moment, I'm gonna descend down there. I think this may not have been a coincidence.
All right, so she turns to stand guard over the entrance.
And I would like to descend down the ladder.
The bottom of the ladder is darker, obviously, than the top, but light is still coming down pretty readily, and dances across the inch of water that splashes as your feet touch the ground. And there is a pattern under the water, carved into the stone at the basin, that looks actually kind of pretty.
A carving. Is it anything I recognize?
It's hard to see with the inch of water over it, but by scooping the water out with your hands, you eventually start to, and just basically splashing it against the wall before, and quickly looking before it drains back in, you start to notice that there are patterns that are used in the Faythen'oc Bard language. These patterns are designed to look like they're just a pretty pattern, but each one of them represents symbols. However, this arrangement of patterns does not appear to contain a message that you can discern. It almost looks like somebody was looking at the patterns in like a code book or something and just thought they looked pretty and copied them.
Okay, so it is the language, but it's gibberish.
100% the language and 100% gibberish. You don't see anything even resembling words.
Okay, I'd still like to write down the arrangement of patterns or letters or whatever, and maybe it'll make sense to me at a later date.
Okay. Callista lowers down something that she found. It looks like a little hose, and she's able to help you pump out the water. And
Ooh, okay.
you manage to get a sketch of it. It takes you about 20 minutes to sketch it all out. You're really fast at that sort of thing, and it's a language you know.
Do I know that Draven has the code book? I'm not sure if he's divulged that to us.
You know he has a book that he got as a delivery. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't know what it is, so I would have no idea I would have no way of knowing it could theoretically be relevant here. All right. Cool. Yeah, I mean, once I'm now curious to know if there's more Faythen'oc writing, down at the bottom of the reservoir in other locations, but that's not really anything I can readily figure out now. So, yeah, I'll head back up.
All right. You head back up and rejoin the group. Draven, did you want to do anything?
My plan was to be sitting outside of the bunker and listening to them.
All right, you've done so. When you get back, Miles, you see that most everybody has sort of made a little camp, and then the sort of senior staff, you might say, are at the bunker. The general, and then your team maker, hero, and this new attachment to your group, the politician.
All right, I'd like to saunter right on in there.
All right, you tromp on in. Looks like the team maker and the general are just doing shots.
I'll come in. I'll just kind of laugh a little bit. I'll say, "You're lucky you took a liking to you. I was prepared to order your execution."
You are the meanest bard I've ever met.
I'll just laugh and I'll do a shot. I'm gonna leave it up to him to decide whether I was serious or not. I'm serious.
So, Tice, your barb is
don't-
back and ready to discuss.
I don't take kindly to ambushes.
We were discussing about the spear and the possibility, if it's true about the identity that if Lord Hypo is not worthy of the spear, that he would not be able to pick it up. For if we were to send it back with this man and Lord Hypo wasn't able to pick it up, then it would mean that he didn't have the favor of the Emperor anymore, thus starting to crush down his regime.
Yes, that almost makes me wish we had the spear. But as we've said from the get-go, I don't have the spear. You don't have the spear. You don't have the spear. I hate to break it to you, but we don't have the spear. And if we did, the only place we could have gotten it was would have been in the hospital, right? Which would mean that even in this strange tale that you seem to be insisting on, where we do have it, that would require that it sat there in a basement in your town for 20 years. And if the spear is as valuable as you say, then surely that would not have been allowed to happen.
He sort of chuckles and says, I'm sorry, while you were out, you missed a few things. The reason that the spear was kept down there is that it is more useful to Lord Hypo to have it in the wild than to be unable to lift it. If he has it in his possession and he can't pick it up, then he is done. Politically, his entire regime will just unravel. He leaned heavily on the spear as a sign of the favor of the Emperor. And without that, he would be disbanded from the courts and no longer the lord of the Hypo province. He would no longer even carry the name Hypo.
And who would be the lord in his place?
That would be up for the court to decide. I am an ambitious man, but that may be a bit more ambition than I'm willing to take on at the moment.
For what it's worth, if I had the spear, I would give it to you. But again, I do not have the spear.
My understanding is that if he doesn't have the spear, he's slowly going to rot away, and the entire thing is going to happen anyway.
Yes, over a much longer period of time, and probably with a great deal of violence and bloodshed, as he will fight against the spirit speakers when they come for him. And he has more than just the spear as magic to aid him.
And how do you know that he can't lift this spear?
I have only your word.
Ah, well, that's he should yeah, making a bad gamble right there.
Say, oh, I saw the spirits myself. I actually still see the spirits.
So, this man speaks with spirits. Spirit speakers are not an unknown thing in this part. If he says that he saw Lord Hypo fail to lift the spear, then that explains the entirety of the past 20 years. Why I was not permitted to take an armed regiment to retrieve it, why it's remained in the basement of the hospital, why he lied about its location. All of this becomes very apparent to me as to why it happened, if indeed he cannot lift it. If you're wrong and he can lift it, then the best thing to do is to keep it as far away from here as possible.
Yes, I would not want you to go back to just go to your own execution.
He kind of shrugs and says, all soldiers die eventually. I'm trying to die in the way that best serves the people of my province.
So, I suspect we're doing the same.
Yeah, he kind of raises an eyebrow. He's like, yeah, it was never clear what your mission is. I suppose it doesn't matter now, though. I'm your prisoner, not the other way around.
So I kind of pull you aside, Miles. I'm just like, so this whole he can't lift the spear thing, is that something that you saw in one of your weird bard visions or something, or you were told, or did we just make that up?
I did see that, right? I'm not misremembering. Yeah.
I certainly like it.
Immediately upon stabbing her, he was unable to pick the spear back up.
I'll say, oh no, I absolutely saw it. I mean, I saw it with the utmost of clarity. I had a direct vision into the past. I believe I'm somehow linked with the spirits there. I have, I've been maybe venturing a little too close to the spirit side of things for some time now. I'll show him the part of my tattoo that's singed. I'll say, yeah, I actually caught on fire the other day before. I'll say, but that's neither here nor there. What matters is I absolutely did see it. I am certain I am certain that that's what happened.
Well, maybe we should give it back to him.
It's not ours to give.
It's certainly not mine to give.
It's not mine either. I'll say it's Draven's spear. That if you're looking to convince someone, that's the person to convince.
Draven, of course, you are sneaking around outside and you hear all of this.
Yeah, I'll say that is his spear. He rightly earned it. It has been given to him. He bears a tattoo of it. It is by any reasonable account, it is his spear. So,
And culturally, that spear is the closest thing you guys have to an item of power in accordance with the monomyth.
Yeah, which I'm just completely all in on. If you read my last journal entry, yeah, it's basically all about the whole reason why I got pissed at the general in the first place is because he was trying to take something that Draven had rightly earned. So.
Yeah, Troy, the bard philosophy of Faythen'oc, well, obviously, they're tricking everybody else, but they do have their own philosophy that they hold to be true, which is that the entire universe is built upon what they call the omni-narrative, or the monomyth. It's the single story that is the single arc of truth and how all stories flow. It's basically the hero's journey that they've just kind of turned into a quasi-religion. And so when they see patterns that look like parts of the hero's journey, they try to make the rest of their day or the rest of their year, the rest of their whatever they're doing, match up with the beats of the hero's journey. And it is marked that when you guys picked up the spear, it was shortly after crossing a threshold, which indicates that that's the beginning of a hero's journey arc. Part of the monomyth, part of the omni-narrative of the universe.
If you remember when we were up in front of the council, we made a whole show out of initially we were called to adventure, and then we initially refused it, and that's the start of the monomyth.
Yep. You receive the call to adventure, you refuse the call briefly, and then renege and accept it when a new piece of information is provided. That's the classic start of a hero's journey. So they intentionally withheld one piece of information so that they could present it in that order. Right? Yeah.
Gotcha. So what you hear, I look around for a second and verify that I can whisper through so that only Heldrin can hear, which I'm assuming I can probably pull off. I don't know what the layout of the bunker is.
You could also just go in and pull him aside for a private conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I like this whole I'm not there thing.
Okay, fair enough.
I like the disembodied voice thing. If I can't do this from outside, then that's fine. I'll go inside and just have the conversation, and they may not even see me in there anyway. I'm also fine with that. If I just come up behind Heldrin and I speak to him and keep the volume so low to avert others from hearing. And I bring up 2 points, and one is that 3 points. One is I do not need the spear to do my duties. 2 is you explained what you saw, but we are not guaranteed that it was not the power of the spirit's figure itself in that moment that kept him from taking the spear away. And 3, I, as well as you know, that although I do not need the spear to do my duties, it will only serve to aid us in our goal, and our goal is more important than anything else going on right now.
I'm just gonna. I figure he can probably see me if he speaks to me, so I'm just gonna nod.
And then I just kind of like fade out again.
Yeah, and your whole mission is to prepare to deal with Aphthis, which is a way more terrifying threat than this one guy ruling this one tiny province in some foreign nation that you barely care about.
Yeah.
So from what I heard
yeah.
from all the conversations, it sounded like we want to deal with this guy, but he's gonna over time fade away anyway. And the worst case scenario of letting him fade away is that a bunch of people are gonna die because they're gonna be defending him, and that's not my concern.
Yeah, to be blunt, I don't care. I mean, so I don't want innocent people to die, obviously. I mean, we're not evil.
And that's where we diverge a little
yeah.
bit.
Yeah. I mean, I probably care more than Draven does. Or I certainly care more about that than Draven does. But I also believe that this item was bestowed upon Draven for the very specific purpose of aiding him in this journey that we're currently on, that is just far, far more important than anything that could be happening here. So I'm not. So this appeal to, if you don't give me the spear, there may be like a protracted period of turmoil. I'm not without sympathy to that, but it's just it just pales in comparison to our actual task at hand, and I'm already kind of keenly aware of the fact that we've probably wasted too much time as it is. So
All right. So presumably you just deny having the spear to the guy and send him on his way, or do you, yeah.
So just to Heldren, if requested, I can return it, but I do not plan to do so, and I suggest against it. My suggestion is finding some way for this captain to serve us. And if that is not a possibility, then we make our way.
see, that's actually an excellent idea. All right, so I will. I'll go and I'll sit down in front of the captain, and I'll say, "You've said that the only way you can rightly return is with the spear in hand, correct?"
Yes. If I return without the spear, then I will certainly be punished.
Then perhaps you should accompany us north.
To do so would also be dereliction of duty. Perhaps worse than simply returning empty-handed.
Even if it's in pursuit of the spear? And even if we can guarantee that you will return with it, assuming you survive?
I see a possibility here. I would have to go alone. There would have to be a manufactured reason why my men could not follow me.
We'll take you as a hostage to guarantee our safe passage.
There will still be significant struggle. The spirit speakers will still go for him, and he will still utilize every element at his disposal to attack them, protect himself.
That is unfortunate, but I fear that the task at hand for us is simply more important for all of us. I say this not selfishly. I say this on behalf of every living person in this region.
Says, to my eye, the only one among you who has shown true honor has been Misashi. If he will give his word that the spear will be given to me upon the conclusion of your mission, then I will do whatever I can to aid your mission. I must do it with deception. I must deceive my men and send them home, possibly to their deaths.
All right, do whatever you must. Again,
He's
I'm
looking
glad
to
you're talking to this guy.
Masashi is the one he wants to guarantee.
Yeah, I agree with Troy wholeheartedly, but this guy seems like super honorable and super like duty bound, so like I have no in.
But yes,
That's why I didn't talk to him.
Yeah, if he showed like a hint of being afraid for his life or a hint of like wanting to get out of the situation without just like saving face or some sort of vanity, I'd be like all over that. But like, yeah, I got nothing right now.
yes, of course.
Oh wait, she's
As this happens, I'm going to whip out my chisel set. I'm just going to start chiseling like an image of the zombie that I saw sitting on the bank.
Okay.
Yes, I will give you my word that we will bring the spirit back to you, so then you can return back to your people and make sure that they have at least someone that has some kind of honor to be there when the new ruler comes there. Maybe you can advise him what the current ruler has failed to do so.
Very well. I will accept this, and I will compose a letter for my men to deliver to Lord Hypo. It is with some dishonor that I act to deceive. This letter will contain many lies of which I am ashamed. But this is the best course for my people, and so it is what I will do.
So you already attempted to deceive us several times today. This can't be. This is no new territory for you.
I attempted tactics, and yes, I am adept at it.
Then this is just another tactic.
Quite right, sir. Quite right.
And we shall settle it with some sake and tea.
Yeah, the best I can do is go down some sort of gambler's fallacy thing where I just get him to like do progressively more ridiculous things until he's okay just committing like raw crimes.
So he composes a letter. You're not sure what it says, unless somebody wants to try and intercept it before he hands it to his men and sends them south. The engineering crew, having finished their work here, are actually going to stick around, as this is their turf, and they have more repairs to do.
I'd actually like to speak to one of them when I get a chance.
Okay. Yeah, there's plenty of time, as he takes a while to write whatever is the contents of this letter is.
Yeah, I'll go up to one of them and I'll say, "Hey, I noted." I'll point to where I descended down the ladder. I'll say, "Did you guys notice the patterns down at the floor of the reservoir?"
It turns out they did not, but now that you mention them, they'll go look for them. Says one of them says the Emperor himself built this reservoir. This is his design and his execution. I would not doubt that there would be pieces of art and beauty all over it.
So yes, very much so. If you ever do happen to chart out what's down there, I'd suggest you run it by a Faythen'oc bard.
Why would we do that? I mean, no offense. You guys are interesting.
I read some letters. That's a language.
Ah, fascinating. To think that you have made a language of one of the Emperor's works of art.
So, yes, sir, that was surely the sequence of events.
Surely, for all things flow from the Emperor.
So yeah, one of the things about not being from here is I don't have to actually believe that. So I'll say, but you, get on you, man. And I'll pat him on the shoulder and walk away.
And so, with the letter drafted, presuming that he is not harassed in any way, he hands it to his second in command, and 12 cavalry travel south, and he gets his own cat, mounts up, and is ready to travel with you. As companions go, this guy is okay in a combat, but his main bonuses are to leadership.
Okay, should I add him
Wait
to
a
mine?
second.
Well, unless somebody wants to spend a renown at some point when you guys get one, to lock him in as a permanent companion, he is a plot point. He's along for a specific purpose, and when that purpose is served, he will go.
Okay.
All I know is going to be pretty funny revealing to him that Nergui already has the the safe passage documentation. But when he finds out, he's going to be like, oh, what? No way.
Oh, yeah. When he does look for that documentation and figures out that it was swapped, he does chuckle and he says, you should give it to me for a moment. And he takes out a stamp.
Sure. I'll say I'll go find your paperwork, I suppose, and then I stumble outside of the tent. I come back a few minutes later.
But you can be forgiven for losing it. It was a very hectic situation.
With a handful of papers that are kind of soggy and covered in mud.
He says, "Of course," and he proceeds to ink the stamp and then stamp a official royal seal of the Hypo province upon the documents. He says, "I had to be sure," he says.
Of course. I'm glad that we have these documents. They are very useful for us.
Yes, indeed. They are something of a deception, since we have not yet found the spear, of course, but they will serve to let us through, and perhaps we can negotiate for more accurate and less attention-grabbing documents as we proceed.
Also, I'm going to have that stamp. I'm just kidding.
It's going to become your stamp by way of your actions.
That's correct.
Yeah, I'll give the cat a nice pet and be like, so then we're on our way. What is the name of your noble steed?
Astrophy.
Well, you're good.
As it describes that entire battle.
I like that we learned his man's name before we learned his name.
I didn't tell you his name. His name is Cian Bachet.
I think we learned his name in
did we? Okay.
way back.
Yeah, like when you first arrived in town in Hypo.
Yeah, because we knew his name when we came up to the reservoir. Like we already had his name by then.
There we go. I've also added the name of his cat to his character sheet.
Yes. It is good that this conflict started with the tea ceremony and ended with one. A fitting end.
Indeed, it is. And so it is not far through the north forest before you encounter a great wide river cutting through the forest. There is a bridge here. There is also a little bit upriver a dam that is it's used to siphon water off into the reservoir, and it's currently not doing that. And so the water is flowing rather fast through the river, but that's okay. There's a very well-built bridge here. Slightly downstream, there's also a very small, poorly built bridge. This is the precise coordinates that that Daru's shield was supposed to be at, according to your encrypted documents.
Who's encrypted? That would be Troy's, right?
No, it was yours that you found at the tattoo shop.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right,
the
right.
constellation.
So just the coordinates I got. Okay. That's the small rickety bad bridge.
No, it's actually the big one.
Oh, good.
There are guards on this bridge at both sides. Guards on your side have the banner of Lord Hypo, and the guards on the other side have the banner of Jaipur. Neither of these banners make sense to anyone except for Nergui, who immediately recognized all the heraldry. This is basically the border. This river marks the border between the two provinces.
Fair. Okay, well, we have papers, so we don't need to cross illegally. We can just kind of walk over the cross to the bridge, basically. So.
And the coordinates are essentially on the bridge?
Yep. Almost dead center on it.
So I'll kind of pull Draven aside and I'll explain that the coordinates in the tattoo shop suggested that this is the place where the shield could be. And I'll stop on the bridge and just point directly down.
Yeah, the hypo guards have no problem with you crossing, especially since their guard captain is with you. So you get halfway through the bridge, and halfway across the bridge, and it is a well-made bridge. Sturdy stone foundations, aged and treated oak. This is like a very sturdy, stable bridge. Now, as Faythen'oc, maybe it's not as artful, but you're starting to get used to this minimalist art style, where the bridge is really just there to be a place for you to cross, so that nature itself can be the art that's on display here. And in the center of the bridge, where you might even fully expect to find a shield, if that is what you believed, there is a mark.
Yeah, I'm looking more for a clue than a.
There is a mark upon the wood, a place where it looks like something. It's hard to say shield-shaped, but definitely something disc-shaped was wedged into the wood with great force, not breaking the wood, but getting itself stuck in there. And then, and you see lots of little chips where some tools were used. It appears to have been pried out of the wood again.
Okay. I'll ask, what CM is his name? The guard captain?
CM Bichet?
Yes, CM Bichet.
So I'll say, do you have any knowledge of there having been something that was pried out of here? There was something that was wedged into this bridge and pried out at a later date?
Takekamas. This was the site of General Takekamas' great failure. This is about 20 years ago. General Takekamas had an elaborate plan, and it was on this point that his failures began. Supposedly, some Faythen'oc woman was guarding the bridge, preventing his soldiers from reaching a group of contract breakers that they were hunting, but it was all a ruse. It was designed to keep her here while he had an army he had stationed south in Haipo, cross the border. They failed dramatically. She fled the scene, joined them in battle, and apparently slew many. But her shield remained here, and even though it was here, none could pass. He was unable to catch her in the pincer attack and unable to recover the escaped fugitives. He does not use the word slaves, but you catch the meaning.
Interesting. I'm just kind of jotting down kind of shorthand notes. I'll say, yeah, I'm a storyteller, and a writer. So these tales are important for me to know.
In these parts, General Takekamas is greatly mocked for his failure. He lost face, lost favor with the courts, and has lived in isolation since.
So yeah, so he still lives.
He does.
So would you happen to know where?
I do not know specifically where, but it will be easy to find out if we address the court of Jaipur.
Yeah, perhaps we should.
In favor or not, he is of noble birth, and so, being who he is, he does have a place at the court, though he probably does not attend, being as he is widely regarded by the moniker the Failure.
And of the shield?
And do you know what became of the shield?
I do not. I do know that for a couple of years, the bridge was impassable, and so a second smaller bridge had to be built downstream so that trade could resume. Eventually, the shield, I guess, was removed. We'd have to speak with the Lord of Jaipur to figure out exactly what happened to it. Is that your mission, to recover the shield?
It is one part of the mission.
Then happily I will address the court, and I'm certain that with Nergui's keen insight into laws and my own influence as a general of Hypo, provided that word of my failures hasn't reached here yet, we should have information about its whereabouts in no time.
So yeah, fantastic. That'll be very useful to accomplishing our goals and getting you home with your spear.
Then let us proceed with haste. The guards on the other side of the bridge look over your papers and happily welcome these glorious heroes who have finally absolved their nation of the insult of accusing them of having robbed Lord Hypo of his spear.
So yes. No, we know that the spear does not rest here. We know that it is further abroad.
The papers actually say that you found it and returned it, and are great heroes because of that.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So I say nothing.
Yes. They let you across. Troy, you hadn't really noticed before, but it's now become apparent that there is some kind of psychic beacon to the north. It was faint enough that you really didn't pick up on it, but it's now become clear. There's something much like the spark of another bard, but very, very far away to the north. See, Heldren, you were already aware of this, but it has become brighter as you've traveled. And it now takes on, now that you're a little bit closer to it, you're starting to see that it does have a lot of the same signatures as a Faythen'oc bard.
Would I be getting a sense of this, like that this literally is a bard that's a living person, or that?
The thing is, if it is a bard, it's shining so much brighter than a bard does to have reached you across this distance. So while it has many of the same traits as a bard, it is obviously much, much more powerful. Vastly so.
Okay.
This is north?
Yes, to the north.
Okay.
Heldren, in your conversations with Radico, he had described it as an artifact that they used for positioning. He didn't know exactly what it is. He just told you it's almost always in their capital. They do move it occasionally, but very rarely. And it's really good for navigating because of that. As long as it's in the capital, it's really easy for you to use it for orienteering.
As far as I review it, it seems more like a person, not like an artifact.
Yes. Just at an impossible distance. You would never be able to sense a person at that distance.
What if it's the Emperor?
Unfortunately, Tice, you are not a psychic person and are unaware of it.
Yeah.
Just based on the fact that I'm getting that sense and we're headed toward more groups of people that I don't know, I want to take another crack at reading through the code book as I'm like walking.
All right. Heldren, you may or may not notice Draven reading his book.
Always roll against me.
What would I roll to see if I notice? Would it be my notice?
Probably perception plus notice, I think, would be good.
Perception plus notice? All right. My investigation wouldn't happen to come into play here, would it? I don't know why it would. It's not like I'm looking closely or something.
Let's also find out what you're rolling against, Draven.
Yeah, so if I'm doing
investigation, you're intentionally trying to find it, but like notice is more appropriate if you're just kind of passively picking up on it.
Yeah, I do everything with a hidden sense. So what am I rolling if I'm
probably stealth plus agility?
Stealth and agility to hide my action? Okay,
yeah.
Let's see. I'm not even gonna argue one of my traits.
I am going to argue one of mine because one of mine is Truth Seeker. Oh, shit. All right.
You know, I mean, as
You have a chance.
bad as 4 is, that for you, that's actually just kind of a meh roll.
If I argued my
No.
traits, I would have had 2 more on top of that, though. So
Yeah.
Everyone is proceeding happily north.
I seem to be walking.
And I am thinking that we will not make the mistake we made last week of running for like 4 hours and bring things to a close here. This is
Oh.
a good 2 hour and 15 minute. That's a good good time period there.
Indeed.
So go ahead with closing ceremonies, and we will pick up next week with your arrival in Jaipur.
Okay. I would like to nominate mine out. I would like to give one to Kite for just basically being like the whisper in the, like, it's like, it's okay if I spend the whole time being invisible, you know, like go behind my ally and just be like, hey, here's some points, and then just like fade back into the void. I like to give one to Marlo for following the ghost. Just like, this scary ghost that touched me one time is still haunting me. I'm going to go see what he wants. And I like to give one to Eslan for just basically
Where do I
just
go?
being the clumsy politician,
Anybody
just
played
like
this game
in the
before?
combat, just like whoopsie. I didn't mean to do
Did I
that.
go the wrong
You're so clumsy. You're just like, you can't do anything without walking and falling.
Damn it.
All right. I would like to give one to Nergui for insisting on drawing that fine distinction between surrendering and having your life saved because your plan went awry and you are now at someone else's mercy. You know, given how cocky that guy was, you know, we're talking now about how honorable he is, but like just last week he was ready to just ambush and murder all of us on a bunch of rafts on the river. So I'm glad that somebody really held his feet to the fire and, you know, didn't let him totally skate on that. So that was good. To Draven, for the fact that when it became plot pivotal, that you kind of offer your input on what to do with the spear, that even when kind of given out of, you know, you can just pull this guy aside and talk to him. You know, that's the thing you can do. You're like, no. I went into combat stealth. I never came out. I'm going to whisper in the wind to one guy, and that guy's going to maybe kind of hear me, and I'm still not going to appear to anybody because I've still just disappeared into the wind. It's to the point where I kind of got to wonder if like the people who saw you, they were, you know, inside the tunnel and just never saw you again. It probably was like, I wonder what happened to that guy. And then to Masashi for just a really, really effective persuasion where I mean, you're kind of getting it from both ends. You're appealing to his honor while he was also trapped on a raft plummeting to his doom. And you know, that fight didn't seem like a sure thing for us even after the 5 cat guys got wiped out. So the fact that he pretty much just, I mean, my original intention was to end the whole thing by just killing the commander, and then, but you definitely came up with a better outcome, and you successfully navigated it. And yeah, as a result, we now have a very useful person aiding us in our journey. So yeah, that's awesome.
How many people were there? There's like 8 of us at the start of this fight or whatever. It was the captain started combat with 8 people, and there were 7 at the end.
Yeah, so I'll go. So Tice for, you know, for making a guy surrender with T, I guess. Also, for some reason, like he surrendered because we saved him, but for some reason, you're the only one that was honorably trusted. And I don't know. It was good. You're now the trustworthy person. And I intend to lean on you for that as much as I need. To Miles. Yeah. So yeah. For I just want to give it to you for sticking to your guns, right? Because like, there's been a lot of. I mean, if we were to have the spear, right? And you're the only one that's just straightforward going along with me. We're just like, yeah, but we don't have the spear. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, we've been telling you that since the beginning. We don't have it. This is not going to happen, right? And I'm just like, Jesus, somebody is playing along. Somebody's getting the keys. It's good. And to Troy, one of these days I'm gonna actually see your character and interact with him. But until that time, you kind of standing out of the way and doing things is actually pretty useful. So, yeah, and I feel like you and I are both in the same kind of boat. Like with this guy, we're both just sort of like, yeah, there's nothing I can attach to. Like I need to blackmail this guy or something, and he just seems like a genuinely good person. Like I don't know how to work with this, right? Like, so yeah.
Oh, that's great. We actually haven't had an interaction yet.
At this point, I think you might just be a figment of my imagination. So,
I'm a ghost, and there were ghosts of the hospital. It just that followed through. All right, so to Heldrin for I don't know if I would view it as my character would be like psychologically affected or whatever, but it's like if I was seeing a corpse, I wouldn't necessarily want to go look at it. Like I wouldn't want to be like, I need to get as close to that thing as possible, and like that's a good idea. Like something left a mark on me, and I'm not assuming I'm possessed or like it's a very weird thought process. And I like that you like followed up on it and you got information out of it. Whereas I probably would have been like, I'm gonna stay as far away from that as possible and not deal.
It's a monomyth, man. You got your spear. I got my weird spirit zombie thing.
Yeah. Which maybe that's just me not knowing enough about Faythen'oc. I'm slowly catching up. I should know a lot more, but I'm learning. Musashi for basically originally having the giving as much information as possible to the captain to tell him that we have the spear, and then convincing him that it doesn't even matter anymore and he should surrender. He basically bolstered up his fighting and then took it all away somehow. Is that magical? I don't know how you pulled that off. I guess people dying. That's a good way to pull stuff off. And then Nagui for the a lot of that you're trying to figure out to do like ways around like normal tactics for people, like messing with their problems, which I hope you do mess with the captain a little bit. But more than anything, for running out and muddying up the documents and like messing them up and getting them all wet and like fucking them up and saying like you found these out there, like I retrieved these for you, no problem. Like that was your plan to do it, and it's like that's the character you are. Like you never stole them, kind of thing. Despite the fact that they were useless to us, and now you may or may not have some object that means that nothing is useless to us, or no document is. Yeah, I think that covers it.
By the way, Troy, the next step of the monomyth for us is temptation.
Oh, is there? Do you have the order of these things? My temptation already happened. It was to save people and give up the spear, and I decided not to do that. See, I'm done. I'm like way ahead of this stuff. That's not fair. I would have never had a temptation to save another person. Like that doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have even said that.
I'm trying to see where I'm on the hero's journey.
Oh, that comes up in Discord meme. 'Cause I don't know, like if you guys are, everybody in a dark theme?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
am, and it makes this a pain in the ass. But if you click on the link, it's a detailed, like, written summary of all the different steps. And yeah, like, as far as I'm aware, being granted items that'll help us in the future is the last step, the most recent step that we cleared. So the next steps are temptation and atonement.
Wait, temptation and then dying?
Atonement.
Yeah, but like in the middle of that is abyss, death, and rebirth.
Just it goes transformation, then atonement, then return.
Yeah, you might be misreading transformation.
I was just reading it off this symbol. Like, so if we're at
Challenges and temptations is roughly the section you guys are in right now.
yeah, and then we go past that, and the next step is revelation.
Yeah, the death and rebirth thing can be largely metaphorical. Too.
Yeah,
Doesn't
obviously.
it? It basically means you have to confront what you thought you knew and, come to some harsh realization.
Moral choices and other fun stuff. Well, this was awesome. Thank you, everybody. Great session. I have decided after last week's debacle trying to broadcast these that instead of broadcasting them live, I'm going to upload the file and let the file play itself. That way, kitten attacks can't interrupt it.
That's what people come to your stream for.
For the kitten attacks?
Kitten attack.
They get plenty of that when I'm playing BattleTech, I assure you. Did I tell you, she turned off my computer while BattleTech was loading and somehow managed to corrupt some of the Unity files that were not actually part of the install. So when I uninstalled and reinstalled it, it still crashed on load. I had to actually go through and hunt down all the Unity files and wipe them out to get a clean install. Very annoying.
Yeah, because also the fact the cat messed around with it when it was the recording streaming on Tuesday as well.
Yeah, she straight up unplugged it on Tuesday. So that's why when I do this replay on Tuesday, I'm just going to upload a file and let the file play itself, which I probably should have been doing from the beginning, but I liked kind of doing the intros and talking about it during the stream and stuff. And I'll still probably be in the chat to talk about it. But I'm just going to upload the file and set it for premiere on Tuesday at probably 8 o'clock. Sound good?
Yeah.
Right on. And then we're still on schedule to do our Stellaris stream on Monday.
Cool.
Yeah, I was not expecting the ending of this contract to be like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't either, but I wasn't expecting the beginning of the conflict to be like it happened. So a lot of things went differently than expectation, and that's good. That's what makes this exciting.
Okay, well, you guys have a good night.
You too.
Good night.
Have a good night, guys.